so much for joining me today. This is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining me today. And let's go ahead and get started, where we are going to focus on my finale, my last show of the year. So I'm very excited as I wrap this up. This will be episode 58, releasing this to wrap up my season 4 as I get ready for my summer break, which is from the month of June, July, August, and then I'll return back for my premiere in the month of September. So let's go ahead and roll out what I need to roll out, and then we're going to get into this. I do have a special guest where he's from Egypt, and please check it out. He's this, say like a few lines that he could, because our schedules kind of got, what they were, so busy. But at any rate, he was a part of this wrap up, and so I'm so thankful that he joined me to, read a line or two for the show that he could, because like I said, our schedule was so busy trying to connect. So we definitely have future projects planned for him to come back and to some more character lines up my production, MOLIAE. Speaking of that, please check out MOLIAE.com. Please go and shop the website itself. You can buy t-shirts, the mugs that I have, jewelry. I really went in detail of that in the last episode this month, the previous episode that I had just released. So definitely go check that out and support the production, support my dream, Mitsrayim, and really hope that you continue to to listen to the podcast show, share it, follow, and all of that good stuff. Also, I had created a beauty line that specializes in essential oils. Please check out MOLIAE Beauty. We are rolling out different types of products, and hopefully you will get that concept, because I still have that ancient Egypt theme going. And if you're a follower of the podcast and love Egypt, ancient Egypt, Kemet, what have you, you would definitely, I feel, be connected to the products that I am creating in that signature style, right? Summer deals, what have you, please check out. You can sign up for the newsletter on both sites. So either MOLIAE.com, that is theatrical, that's my podcast, that's where I do my creative in that realm of creativity, and then MOLIAE Beauty is where I focus on the beauty, amplifying our skin, our inner mood and joy, our mind, body, joyfulness, our mind, body, and soul. So you get the Ankara, which is the King Maker. It was the first product that I created. So check that out. It's the all 360 mission and purpose and message from my book, Mitsrayim, a memoir of a past life in ancient Egypt, which, by the way, it is available on Barnes & Noble as well as Amazon. If you already purchased my book, if you read some of my stories or what have you, and you really like it, go out there and support it and give a positive review, okay? That's what I'm looking for, especially if you really love it and you will with it, right? So thank you so much for that. Please join us on social media. We're on Instagram, MOLIAE8, and my beauty line, MOLIAE Beauty. We're on Instagram as well. That's MOLIAE Beauty 8. So definitely shop, of course, and support, and join the newsletter. Join this podcast show. I moved it from Spreaker to Podbean, so definitely do that. And so I have to restart up my followers on my podcast that you can actually see through Podbean. So definitely do that, because that helps definitely to promote the overall production and my dream. And I'm going to have live shows. I haven't set the date yet, and it's going to be definitely focused on relationships, because I believe we struggle with that, and I want to be able to be one of those that are aiming to help. It's the 360 boo that I like to say. With that, relationships can be for singles, it could be for married people, it could be for this dating, it could be people that that's in between, right? And for us to have an open discussion. So if you're interested in being a guest to talk about your journey finding true love, trying to figure it out, you already found your true love, you want to help, which is the 360 boo, then go ahead and email me. Email the production at info@moliae.com. Also, I am looking for ambassadors of the product line with the beauty. If you are a model or what have you, or ambassador, or you're a marketer, what have you, okay, you want to help out, especially when I I'm ready to do the film, which I talked about in my last episode. I'm looking for all types of talent, not just acting, but as, part of the whole wham to make a production, make a team move forward. Send your resume to info@MOLIAE. Tell me what type of skills you have, your contact information, best way to contact you as well. And we can, connect when, hey, we ready to go and get it done. So very excited about that. And let's see. So I think I went over pretty much everything for right now. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. This is wrapping up my 4th year podcasting. I really love it. Last year I really had a lot of interviews. And also, if you want to be a guest interview, you can definitely just send an email to info@MOLIAE that you want to be a guest speaker. And if you want interested in reading some of these character lines, being invited as the guest speaker to be a part of my scenes, definitely send an email. And this will actually help for those that are acting and you're kind of in between projects, and you're waiting for the next thing. This is the perfect way. Get on someone's podcast show, especially if it's something like this that I focus on, literature, writing, short stories, and so forth, and doing these episodes. Be a part of that. That could be your reel, right? That you can use towards other products. Okay, so with that done and said, again, join the newsletter, MOLIAE.com, as well as MOLIAE Beauty, and sign up and support. Buy you some body oils, buy you some t-shirts, you know what I mean? Help the show. I appreciate you. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. So we are at episode 58 of my MOLIAE. The timeline is before Princess Amina, before the time of Princess Amina. Princess Amina is really the person that I wrote about. It's like a journal in the book that I wrote, Mitsrayim, A Memoir of a Past Life. In that's where she's a princess and she has to eventually choose between 2 kings. But there's a lot of things going on in that. So definitely highlight you to read the book, and definitely go through my Facebook.com MOLIAE, and you can see the years when I started in 2010 for the Facebook. But you can definitely see all the journey that I've been through. And I haven't gotten my dream yet, which is to make it a film, a feature film, right? I did other projects and other things, so that's great, and I appreciate the time that I was on a film set that I did. W.B. Du Bois, Dawn of the New Day, is available on Real House, REEL house.org/prestige. So if you're interested in looking at that feature film, I'm the first one that did it. I'm claiming it. Check it out on W.B. Du Bois, because I did that. I directed it. I wrote the script. I directed it. And if anything, that gave me a lot of experience. Did websodes for MOLIAE as well. And you can find all my previous film work on realhouse.org/prestige. All right, but definitely check that out. So let's go ahead and get into this. 58. All right, so we're wrapping this up, and like I said, if you want to kind of do a really quick background course of what it's all about, MOLIAE, it's the MOLIAE world, as I end up calling it, because there's a lot of characters. It was over 50 characters in my book that I wrote. Right, that was over 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago, and I'm trying to get there, and that's why I came to Atlanta and end up being saying, no, you should focus on this, and doing plays and all that, when really I was right. The Destiny of Mitsrayim, my book, is a movie, and because that's what the images and that's what I saw when I wrote it, and it came through. So nonetheless, the timeline of the podcast show is before the book. Okay, so we're dealing with King Mahlon and Queen Hagar, basically after they fell in love, which go to my website, MOLIAE.com. The real theme in that is couples. It's about relationships. It's about family. It's about children. It's about, when you don't have no children, you're about to have, all of that, right? Life. And the podcast show focused on them because that's where it was coming through when I decided, I need to do another podcast after I started my first one, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Go check it out. It's on Podbean, right? And as well as this podcast, like as I mentioned. And I wanted to say, because sometimes in between, like people in the business, entertainment and film and all that, it might be a while before you do the next project, right? And as well, I just felt this pull to be able, be able to still talk about. It's a lot that I want to get out, but I can't. And as I've been either too busy or it's just not the right time or other plays and mix. And then I was like, I should do a podcast about my story. I'm like Mitsrayim, and that's how it came about. And the first scene that came through, it was the same experience when I described what led me to write the book and led me to write these, what I saw as images, I called back then, or visions or what have you. And that's what I did. So episode 1 is key. So if you want to do a quick follow-up to get to this episode where we're at now in 2021, now about to start episode 58, is to go check out episode 1, Before the Time of Princess Amina. Why? It sets it up by introducing you to Queen Hagar, which is the mother of Princess Amina. From the book and the theatrical projects that I've done, Princess Amina is all in that because that's from the timeline of the book. And then it goes into where we at with the Orions and how they've been just a thorn to the family, to the royal family. And then from there, you can definitely just kind of move up. I know there's a great episode where King Mahlon confronts Echo. Echo is the one that is an Orion that they went Hanee went ahead and found him and returned him back home. But episode 1, Before the Time of Princess Amina, then you're going to jump ahead to episode 54. Okay? And this is basically where Mitsrayim is telling on the Orions to the elite Akuni. Alright? They are the elite ones that is in the history books, I should say. Not in the history books that you know in a traditional way, but on stories told about them and on tablets. So nonetheless, you go to episode 54 and it's called the finale. Of course, Mitsrayim rises before the Sadan among the Akun. That's very important. And also towards the end introduced Inky. Alright? And just remember that he's one of the great internet Akuni. So you want to look at that. So you did episode 1, you jump to episode 54, and then from there you go to episode 55, and then episode 56, and that's where the outcome of finding out the Orion Hanee, we enter Tiamat. And I just dropped previously released the discussion of the Orions and the tribal leaders, as well as the King Mahlon and the Orion tribal leaders. That was recent. That was basically last month in April. Go check that out, and then you'll come back to episode, what I'm doing now, episode 57 and 58, and then this will kind of connect and make sense. And then when you have time, like this summer where I'm off, but that's why I kind of encourage people, when I'm off on vacation, take this time to go back and get caught up about MOLIAE, right? I do have other short stories that I do, which is mahogany. I haven't got a chance to do that because I had plans to do play production. It didn't happen really. So, and then I have the other production that I had rolled out recently, Atlantis. I only did a few episodes of that. That will be coming back. It's just it had to be put to the side because other things was going on. But Atlantis will be returning. Okay? So just to recap, how can I catch up? I'm just learning about this. I don't have much time, but I'm really into this. Go to episode 1, you jump to episode 54, then 55, and then 56, and then you'll be ready for 57 and 58, which is this month. Then you have time. You have time. You read where I put my discussion, my director discussions about these main segments of characters, which is King Mahlon, and then the Orions, and the tribal leaders. Okay? Alright, because Princess Amina is not born yet. Now, King Daniel, that's from the book, that's in the theatrical production, he's in play. He's there. He's already been born because he's always been a few years or a couple years older than Princess Amina. So he's on the scene, and then we have King Mahlon. He's on the scene on this timeline, right? That is before the birth of Princess Amina. So you have that, and of course there's Gamar, what have you. He's not there yet on the scene, but this is all in the mix that can kind of connect everything. So definitely check that out. So here we go. So this episode is going to close us out for season 4, and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right? I think I did enough talking. Let's do this. He's like, I'm so excited. This is it. I studied and I listened to all her podcasts, and I am ready for this. Get ready. All right, so we're going to do this with the Alliance and the people on Tiamat. And we're going to do this. And let's get started. All right? Let's get started with my episode today for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, with episode 58 entitled, Hanee discovers his enemies are abound in Orion. Opening scene. Deep in the Orion skies, we see an unknown enclosement that landed on the far side of the Talin, not far from the mountains, hiding from the main city of Orion. The star constellation in 352 location, governing bodies and embodiment of rulers. We see a tall man walk out as the dust settles from landing from above to the now, with over 40 guards protectively around him. There is an unknown, but of the Orion seed. It approaches what it seems to be the leader and started to walk side by side this mystery man. As they approach an enclave passage to a secret location, they enter one by one in order until all that arrived from the enclosement. Meanwhile, we see Hanee in the observatory looking over where the final presentation of his good friend Echo will trail to the next realm of reality. Hanee, the high-rank officer and leader of the regime of Nontu, still in thought as his arms crossed behind him. He knew there would be a trail for Nontu deeds that led to Echo fall on Tiamat by King Mahlon, discovering Echo whereabouts. That day, the Orions were breaking an old treaty amongst the Akumne to enter and claim dominance of them of the Sudan and beyond thereafter. Hanee attire was of military and diplomatic position of burgundy and hues of brown tamars, as his of brown tinner, as his metal of pristine amongst the Orion elites and governing rule, sparkled in the one distant Nontu above. Suddenly he heard footsteps arriving to enter his domain chambers in the Astar of Tiamat. He suddenly turned around to question the disturbance and confirmed it was of the final preparations that will be soon, as every measure was to hold for existence for as long as possible for his other family to arrive. Hanee spoke about and looked up and said, as the measures conceded to the attendant that oversaw the forthcoming ceremony involving Echo looked worried and stuttered. I must inform you, Hanee, that there is another here to speak with you. It is of great importance. The attendant bowed a bit nervously as a guard of an unknown seated walked up with dark hair and grayish attire that draped down to his feet. There were 4 other guards that made Hanee stood up straighter, and his mind raced in many seconds to thousands per moment to where his nearby sword was located. Hanee quickly spoke as he saw more guards enter, as he quickly as well looked for his sword. Hanee said, and do we have before me that such an interest in my enclave prove worthy to invade me? There was a pause as the last guard entered. Then, that mystery man entered last. The covering cord that was slowly removed. Then you could see his face. It exposed his identity to Hanee. That stepped back in a commanding stand, ready to take action, as Hanee saw his sword. As he remembered his military sword that was left on his side in the room of his docket, and he noticed the only exit out of there was through the door, about 3 cubits moments away. Hanee quickly did the calculations, and he knew he only had one chance of proper movement to get out of there intact. He did what he knew and remembered of his battle, of military combat. He breathed slowly, and then he spoke. You are bold to be before me, the mystery man spoke with no irritation and force. We both know of what is to be done now that your main military leader will be no more. Hanee returned the stare and spoke with force. Do not speak of Echo, for your sightings with the Orisi tribe proved unworthy to keep my dear friend alive. Hanee pointed his finger at the mystery man, that then brushed off those words of disagreement and went to admire the different liquids of drinks before him before he spoke. Then this mystery man said, I know you are still searching for the Astar that King Mahlon made known that he is still in possession of it. And not I, or you, Nontu. The mystery man poured him something to drink as he eyed Hanee, still fuming of his presence before him. Hanee was persistent before he spoke. Why did you risk to share such a truth? The mystery man said, I know that you hide that truth to your secret council members of the Okum upon your return back with the wounded Echo and capture the two. You did not expel all that you saw and know. King Mahlon rise back to the power of being. And he was still resistant, then instantly knew the position of what would unfold by him and clasped his hands behind him. Then Hanee spoke with calmness. What is your plan? There is forming another alliance against the Saddam Kankatom Council. Sanel is not as strategic as he thinks he is at the moment. Pausing in thought, Mr. Man then continued. So we need Nontu. Hanee erupted with fury as the guards approached him to hold him back. Hanee yelled, Never before me will I give Nontu freedom for what he did to us and my dear friend Echo. The mystery man shook off the sayings of Hanee and then said to him, It's not your move to make, but so it will be so. The guards scuffled with Hanee as they started to tie him up, and the mystery man put back on his hooded covering cape and was about to walk out to leave those guards and securing Hanee as the other guards with the mystery man start to leave the domain of the Astar of Hanee, the high-rank leader of the Orion. A loud roar from Hanee spoke with thunder before they completely left with the mystery man, as the mystery man thought he was about to exit. But he heard Hanee, and Hanee spoke louder with the war within him. It was you that created the disloyalty of the tribal leaders. Inke. Insane.